Former President Trump gave a pre-response to the statements that President Biden made yesterday. The big guy responding to the terrorist attack against Israelis in Gaza by Hamas over the weekend yesterday, saying we stand with Israel. But again, does the rhetoric match the record? President Trump didn't think so.
When I was your president, we had peace through strength, and now we have weakness, conflict, and chaos. The atrocities we're witnessing in Israel would never have happened if I was president, would never have ever happened. When I was commander-in-chief, we reduced the Iranian economy, and I withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the regime, and imposed a strict travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists the hell out of our country. Now they're pouring into our country. They're pouring into our country. Joe Biden undid it. He undid it all and gave billions and billions of dollars to the world's top sponsor of terror, tossing Israel to the bloodthirsty terrorists and jihadists. You saw that?
Yeah, we did see that. And as
Trump.
we heard in the exchange between Brett Baer and John Kirby, the oil exports that Iran is realizing, the money from oil exports it's realizing, which has gone up at a 45-degree angle over the last 24 months.
Billions of dollars.
For more on this, pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning, guys.
We mentioned it a bit before, but that phrase that Kirby used in the exchange with Brett Baer, trying to explain how Iranian oil exports went from about $7 billion a couple of years ago to $30 billion last year, and said, well, supply and demand need to balance. Supply and demand in the world oil markets need to balance.
Right. Well, look, this is almost criminally negligent what's happened with this crazy climate change policy of Biden, which is basically to declare war on American oil and gas production. And so we're producing, in fact, we just did an analysis of this. We are now producing about 2 or 3 million barrels fewer than we would be with the Trump drill baby drill strategy. And that 2 to 3 million barrels a day, that's we're losing about $150 to $200 million every day in terms of output. But where has that all gone? Well, guess what? We have basically empowered financially Russia. That was the first stupid thing. We gave this money essentially to Putin because obviously Russia is a major oil and gas producer, and so that's helped finance the war in Ukraine. And then, of course, what were those numbers for Iran? I hadn't heard those numbers.
That's like a 4x increase over the last.
That's
24
unbelievable.
months.
I mean, this is we know how the terrorists like Hamas get their money. It's no secret. They don't have any economy, Hamas. They get the money from the oil revenues from the Middle Eastern countries, specifically Iran. And so effectively what Biden has done is put money into the hands of these brutal terrorists. It's disgraceful, actually.
Yeah, so Democrats are starting to feel the pain of their own policies that they've put in place. But let's get to President Biden. I mean, he took a half day on Sunday, then another half day on Monday, and finally came out. Did his words resonate with you yesterday?
You mean that it took him so long to make this statement?
Yeah. Well, then his final statement too.
Well, listen. How do you explain what's going on here? I mean, you played that clip from Trump, and whether you like Trump or not, what he said in that statement was absolutely 100% true. We didn't have terrorist incidents like this when he was president. We got tough with Iran. He did pull us out of these crazy agreements with Iran that would have empowered them. And that was a very positive thing for the U.S. economy. Look, how many times have I said on this show over the last couple of years that what we're doing with respect to our oil policy is not just bad for our economy, but it's putting our security in danger. And that's exactly what's happened here.
With respect to our economy, an interesting piece from Marlo Lewis over at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. He's an environmental policy dude. Talking about the White House Council on Environmental Quality, he gave a statement before this, one of these Star Chamber boards that that oversees the rulemaking at EPA and stuff. And he's basically saying this proposed rule to the revision to the National Environmental Policy Act aligns policymaking in the direction of Biden's pledge under the Paris Climate Treaty to get to net zero by 2050. So they're sort of again moving through the administrative state what they can't move through Congress, particularly with Republicans in control of the House.
So there's a great report just put out a few weeks ago by my friends at the Institute for Energy Research, and they found that they've listed, you can go to that report and you can find 100 different policies that Biden has put in place that have been, reduced American oil and gas production. And, do you guys remember what the first act of the president was when Biden came into office?
Kill the Keystone.
Yeah, he killed the Keystone Pipeline. You think he was sending a signal that he's deadly? And by the way, we have ourselves to blame here. Because Joe Biden he told us in the debates against Trump, I'm going to destroy the American oil and gas industry. Remember, Dan and Amy, he said that. Yeah. And yet people still voted for him. I mean, Illinois voted for a guy who said, I'm going to destroy one of America's great and strategically important industries. And that's what
a lot of union members in Wisconsin got laid off that day. They're like, well, we just voted for him.
Well, we don't need the oil and gas.
Pipe fitters
we don't need oil and gas here because we've got Chinese communist-backed electric battery facilities.
Solar panels. Yeah. I know. You can, really, folks, you cannot make up the stupidity of this energy policy. We should be producing every single barrel of oil we can, because you want to stop these terrorist incidents. You want to get Putin out of Ukraine. Let's take their money away from them. And the way to do that is to produce as much oil and gas as we can. We should be producing a lot more. I just wrote a piece for FoxNews.com on this. I mean, and you look at the numbers, and the one number I had not seen, I've got to look this up, Dan, is how much Iran's oil exports are up, because we know there's a pipeline from Iran right to these terrorist networks. We know that that's how they get their money.
I wanted to get your reaction to the seemingly irrepressible jobs market and what that means against the backdrop of more and more suggesting that we're looking at a recession, perhaps a steep one, end of this year, beginning of next.
Well, I'm not going to predict a recession, because a lot of economists predicted a recession at the beginning of this year, and the economy's done, pretty well this year. But there's always that worry. And if you look at this jobs report, it was, there was a lot of good news in it, but there was a lot of worrisome news. For example, did you know that full-time employment is actually down in the last couple of months? The number of Americans that are full-time employed. So more and more of these jobs that are being created are part-time jobs. And there's that old joke, about how, yeah, I know the jobs market is good. I know there are a lot of jobs out there because I have 3 of them.
Right.
So more and more Americans are having to work, 2 jobs to make a living. The other thing that's going on right now is, with these interest rate increases that we've seen, the Fed has raised interest rates 11 times now, and they may do it again. Although this new curveball of what's happened in Israel could change everything here, but let me give you a statistic that'll just blow you away. When Trump left office, the mortgage interest rate was 2.9%. Today, it's 7.5%. That means for an average median home, if you buy say a $500,000 home, your mortgage payments are going to almost double from like $2,000 to $4,000 a month. So that's inflation. I love this idea. Oh, inflation's going down. It is. I don't see it. I don't see it at the grocery store. I don't see it at mortgage rates. I don't see it anywhere. So
well, and also what it does across the board, houses as well as foodstuffs. It just greatly diminishes your purchasing power, what you can actually buy. So that's what people need to understand. Yeah.
By the way, Dan, there's another story I was saving for you and Amy because I knew you'd love this story. So, have you heard about the fact that because of the turmoil in the House, we don't have a Speaker of the House, and Lord knows when we're going to get one, that the appropriators, the Republican appropriators are saying, okay, that means with McCarthy's out, the deal's off, and we can spend whatever we want. These are Republicans.
Right.
I mean, there's an old saying: there's three parties in Washington: Republicans, Democrats, and appropriators. And so they don't want to cut the spending. Even though we're running a $2 trillion deficit, we know that Biden doesn't want to cut spending. We know that Chucky Schumer doesn't want to cut spending. Now the Republicans in the House don't want to cut spending.
Yeah, well, we have to keep spending to prevent from going bankrupt, as Joe Biden famously said. You know that. That's how it works.
Exactly. How's that working out for you, folks? I mean, so are we in a precarious position today? Yes. And it circles back to the start of this conversation that these are self-inflicted wounds. We just should have stuck with the policies that were working.
Steve Moore, economist, Govzilla author. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Take care.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century with IoT Smart Connected Scanning. It's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Great tweet from They Call Me Rum Punch, which is a great handle, great Twitter handle.
They call me Rum Punch?
Yeah.
That's great.
This could apply to what we were talking about with energy, with inflation, with the situation with migrants in Chicago. It's funny how people seem to move to the right when things actually affect them. It is funny.